This is the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari, Ware we talk about everything, all things, anything to do with weight loss, health and wellness. Welcome to episode number 2 of the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari Ware. I am Shari Ware, your weight loss expert, and today we're going to be talking about the power of the subconscious mind. Today, I want to introduce you to Ian Kaminskyj, who runs Melbourne NLP Hypnosis Centre, where they help clients overcome challenges and excel. He works with clients individually, helping them either overcome many forms of negative behaviour, such as quitting smoking, weight loss, drinking less, depression, sugar addiction, all of those kinds of things. Or they help them to improve their performance in areas like sports, sales, and exams. They also work with groups of business owners to help improve their business mindset and thereby their productivity, performance, and ultimately their business profits, which sounds awesome. We could all do with a little bit of help with those kinds of things. So welcome, Ian.
Thank you so much, Shari. It's great to be here with you and your listeners.
Awesome. Lovely to have you here. So my very first question is, I'm going to ask you, what is your superpower?
Well, you already told us in a sense, I suppose, Shari, because it really is all about, as you mentioned before, empowering clients to really overcome their challenges, using the power of their unconscious mind, and thereby excelling. And what's really interesting is that the actual clients are really doing the therapy themselves. I'm just really more as a guide here, helping them through the process. I suppose point number 2, my second superpower in a sense, Shari, is, helping people realize what is the root cause of their issues or challenges. Because often it's not clear to them what is the underlying root cause that's causing them to do certain things. I'll give you a great example of this, Shari. I had a client come to see me for help with gambling. He said, okay, I'm losing thousands of dollars. Ian, what can you do to help me? And we dug deeper and deeper in what was really happening in his life, Shari. It came down to the stresses that he was experiencing from running his own business, a mortgage broking business, and he was totally stressed out and burnt out at the end of the day. He then drank too much, and then he would start gambling and then lose an absolute packet. So when we actually got to the root cause and helped him with his stress and anxiety, his gambling almost disappeared instantaneously. That's my next superpower, I suppose, number 2.
Okay, well, 2 is, it's awesome that you have more than one. That's great. So then I'm going to ask you, and you've kind of touched on it a bit, but I want you to go into more depth. What are the biggest mistakes that people make when they're trying to, achieve goals or get to a certain destination in their life?
Yeah, look, really great question. And it comes down to some great comments from people like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, and even Einstein, actually, where they define success as being 80% mindset and 20% strategy. And so this actually helps us understand what I'm going to explain to you as what I think is the biggest mistake people make, particularly in business, but also in their personal lives, Shari. And it is that they put all their effort and focus on strategy. For example, in business, my systems, looking at sales, looking at marketing procedures, looking at admin tasks, accounting, and so on. But that's only 20% contributing to their success. If they focused 4 times that effort on their mindset, according to Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, and Einstein, that would help them substantially to help them accelerate towards their desired goals and outcome. In fact, both in a professional business setting and also, of course, personally as well.
Wow, there's some pretty big names you throw out there. And so then if that's the biggest mistake they make, what are the steps that they need to take to achieve those goals they've set out to achieve?
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to then, Shari, is focusing in on that 80% mindset. So what are some of the things that they can do to improve their mindset? I've got about 3 or 4 aspects here that they can sort of work on immediately, which will help improve their mindset and, of course, thereby their performance, productivity, and ultimately their results.
Awesome.
Number one actually is improving their self-image, their limitations, which are generally self-imposed. Because see, what's interesting here, Shari, is it's not what others think or say about you. It's actually what you take on and believe about yourself. And the great thing here is, of course, then you're the one who's in control here, and that you can actually then start to change that and thereby improve your self-image, beliefs, and so on. And in fact, think about this, Shari. How many things in life, opportunities, for example, have you not actually attempted or looked at, even though they could have had a huge impact on your outcome because you doubted your beliefs, so your abilities to do so?
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that many
Masses.
times, so it's just a great example of how your limiting beliefs can really hold you back. Other things would include controlling your state. Let me ask you another question, Shari. Let's just say throughout your, working day, you have some challenges or problems come up.
Yep.
Can you better deal with those if you're in a happy, positive state or in a negative, sad state?
Oh, absolutely. Positive, happy state is going to get you there by a country mile.
Fantastic. So you can see that it actually is very important thereby to help us be successful and just deal with challenges that come up. Here's another question here for you, Shari. Let's just say you're having a really bad day. Nothing's going well and you're sort of getting, not feeling the greatest.
Yeah.
And then suddenly out of the blue, you get a phone call from a close friend you haven't seen for 5 years. And they say, Shari, I'm in town here for one night tonight. How about we catch up on all times, just have an absolute ball going out together? How would your state change instantly?
Yep, probably. I'm pretty sure it would change instantly.
This is showing us thereby, Shari, that even if this was like a random event, we have inside us the ability to be able to change our state just like that.
Yeah.
So then the $1 million question that follows on from that is, can we control our state deliberately? And the answer is a definite yes. And there are many techniques we can learn to help us, but a few very simple ones that people will be very familiar with right away are things like your physiology, and also things like music.
Okay.
For example, let me ask you another question, Shari. What is your favorite song?
Oh, wow, that's a question. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to say Summer of '69.
Actually, I love that song too. So,
It's an awesome song.
so when you hear that song, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel awesome.
Awesome. So we can see that even with just some simple tools like music, why not, for example, create a playlist where you've got songs that inspire you, that make you feel great, invincible, unstoppable. And then whenever you're feeling a little bit down, just play them of those songs, bang, you're sort of off, to a good start to then be able to work your way out of it.
Yeah.
With physiology, it's an interesting one as well here, Shari. If you watched someone closely, without even hearing what they say, you look at their physiology, their posture, their body language, you can probably work out quite quickly whether they're happy, sad, confident, and so on, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it also works the other way, that your physiology can control your state. So if you're feeling really down, for example, and you start to then get up and sort of act and, have a posture of someone who's really confident and, invincible, within a couple of minutes of doing those sorts of postures and body language, you actually start to feel quite different and start to feel much better than you were before.
Yeah. Okay, so you can create, if you're not particularly confident, you're going into something, you need a bit more confidence simply by changing your physiology, maybe doing some kind of a power pose or something like that. You can give yourself that confidence. Awesome.
And play
Okay.
a song that actually makes you feel invincible before you go.
Yes, definitely. So I'm assuming, because I know that you work with businesses, we already discussed that at the beginning when I introduced you. I'm assuming that these are some of the things that you help businesses with. What else do you include in that work that you
Yes,
do?
great question. We also help them with things like focus. That is also paramount to be successful, of course, in your day-to-day sort of work. And in fact, we live in an information overloaded environment, Shari. We have constant distractions from things like social media, text messages, emails, just non-stop.
Yep.
Actually, owners of businesses who actually are very, very successful have developed very powerful ways to be able to get rid of these distractions, be able to focus very, very intently on particularly high important strategic business tasks. Let me ask you an interesting question here. Now, you've played the sport before, like netball or
Yep.
football. So
Yep.
netball,
Netball when I was young. Yep.
awesome. Hypothetical scenario. Okay. Let's just say, Shari, you're a goal shooter on your netball team.
Yep.
You're playing in the grand final. The scores are level. It's down to the last couple of minutes of the game. Suddenly, you get the ball and you've now got the last shot of the game.
Oh my goodness, no
Decide
pressure.
the outcome. How laser focused would you be on that shot?
Oh wow, laser, laser, laser.
Exactly right. So what we're saying here is, can we cultivate ways to be able to bring on this sort of laser focus when you're doing, again, important business tasks and procedures? And the answer is, again, yes. We cover off some of these, but some of them, for example, are things like self-hypnosis, meditation, can get you into a really powerful state, or even what we call the zone, to then be able to really focus intently on what you're doing.
Okay.
Other areas we talk about, Shari, is motivation. What actually motivates you? Because knowing this is also critical to doing, business tasks and activities, particularly things you don't necessarily like doing. For example, are you a person who likes to avoid pain, or are you driven more by a reward, for example? You know,
Yep.
and knowing this actually is critical because, for example, if you're someone who likes more reward, then you might say, okay, what I'll do then, if I get this task finished today, I'm going to then go out and I'm going to go out with my friends and watch a movie and do whatever it might be. The reward is actually what inspires you. But if you're driven more by avoiding pain, that really actually won't inspire you to get that particular task done.
So you have ways to help people to identify which one they're motivated by the most.
Exactly. And also we
Wow.
can go further and say, look, what sort of things in your business do you love doing? What motivates you? Matt, what got you to get into your business in the first place? What's that passion and drive in you? You know, most business owners actually like things like autonomy. They like to be excellent at what they do and have connections with other business owners. So when we sort of tell our clients, look, make sure that during the week you also leave some time for tasks that really fulfill you, that really motivate you. That also makes them feel a lot more fulfilled and happier in their businesses as well. And according to a guy called Sean Acor from the Happiness Institute, he actually said that the happier you are, the more productive and the greater your performance becomes. So clearly a very important thing as well.
Wow, definitely makes sense. So it sounds like the way that you work with businesses is a lot different to how a lot of people work with with businesses, I should say. And I am assuming that you're using all of those tools that you have, the NLP, the hypnotherapy, all of those things, which is also different to how a lot of other people work with businesses. Is that correct?
Exactly right. I mean, so Shari, look, we talked about the importance of mindset, but I come from an engineering background and I'm very, very practical as well. So where we differ a lot is that we cover off strategy as well. Don't get me wrong here, that's still very, very important. But we then need the mindset to actually be successful and achieve that strategy moving forward. So we actually start then with our clients working on their longer term both business and also personal visions and goals, say for the next 3 to 5 years. And say, okay, well, once we've got that in place, let's now create a plan for you and break it down into annual, quarterly, then maybe monthly and weekly goals, for example. So have that plan in place. And the next thing we want to do is then how can we then foster your mindset, to actually then over that long term actually help you achieve that. Because people actually get very excited about new goals and visions, but often within a couple of weeks, as we know, around New Year's Eve,
Yep.
they've forgotten about it. And it's all just so having that right mindset, even the accountability side of things is actually very, very important to achieve long-term success. So we cover off the things I mentioned before, improving your focus, improving your state, controlling your state, knowing your motivation. We talked about, getting rid of your limiting self-beliefs. Even things like reducing stress and anxiety is critical as it's so detrimental to our performance, of course, and our health and well-being. And creating habits and rituals that become almost automatic. You just do them almost without thought. Because, as Aristotle actually said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is thereby not an act, but in fact a habit. I want to switch to you one other really important phrase, like a quote. It's really, really powerful. And It's actually called, Shari, the 4 important steps to your success. This is really critical what we're talking about here. And it says, watch your thoughts because they determine your words. Watch your words because they control your actions. Watch your actions because they control your habits, and thereby watch your habits because they control your destiny. So we can see from this 2 really key things I want to pull out of that. Firstly, how important your thoughts are, which of course is the mindset. Number 2, how important, because how good would this be? This is the ideal, I think, Shari, is to be able to create, say, a new goal or a vision for yourself, and then put that on autopilot, where you're doing things to achieve that automatically without thought. I mean, how good would that be?
That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. And that's what we're working to help our clients achieve.
Awesome. Okay. So it sounds like a lot of the work that you do is working with the subconscious rather than working with the conscious mind. Why, in a nutshell, is that so important?
So let's then talk about briefly, to answer that question, Shari, the functions of those 2 parts of the mind, the conscious and the unconscious. You see, we make decisions, think and act on a conscious level. But at an unconscious level, we have things like our emotions, our habits, our long-term memory, and also our protection mechanism that protects us from both physical and emotional harm. And you see, all learning, all behavior and all change are unconscious. And so if we can use tools like NLP and hypnosis that work at the level of the unconscious mind, it can be much easier to produce rapid and quick changes to deeply held long-term habits and beliefs and values that are at that unconscious level. And I'll give you a great example of this, just maybe illustrate this point a bit further. A couple of years ago, I actually was visiting Bunnings, and I was looking for some stuff to do some of my marketing with. And I had a guy come up and said, look, Ian, what are you actually looking for? I said, well, I'm looking for some stuff to be able to sign for my business. He said, what do you actually do? I actually help people quit smoking. And I said, that's what I said. And he said, oh, that's really interesting because I've only just quit. And I said, oh, that's really interesting. How did you do it? He said to me, look, Ian, I actually went to a medical practice just around the corner from where I live. And I came across this quit smoking brochure. Happened to be mine, but I didn't say anything to this guy. I said to him, okay, well, what did it actually say in that brochure? It said, smoking is predominantly a bad habit, and you can actually change habits within a 3 or 4 week period. I said, that's fascinating. What did you do with this information? He said to me, well, what I thought I'd do he said, I smoked about 15 cigarettes per day. I said, I thought I'd take one cigarette at a time and I'd work on that one cigarette for a 3 or 4 week period and get rid of it. So, for example, let's just say he had his first one with his first cup of coffee in the morning. He would skip the coffee and just go straight into the shower, wash up and stuff, and thereby break that routine. And then day by day, strengthen that new habit and then get rid of that first one. Wow. 3 or 4 weeks later, he would then go on to number 2, number 3, and so on. So assuming no stuff-ups along the way, it would have taken him, with that approach, strategy, probably about 15 months to quit. Now that's actually applying conscious effort all the way through, focusing consciously on achieving the result.
Yeah.
My clients typically stop after only one session.
That's the difference.
Because I'm using the right tools to access that part of their mind which controls their beliefs and values, and also, of course, their habits. And thereby you can get much more rapid changes of behaviour that way.
So because they're not having to consciously focus on that habit that they're trying to change, when you work with the unconscious, it's much easier and quicker.
That's actually because all learning, all behaviour, all habits are unconscious. Exactly right.
Awesome. Well, why wouldn't we want to do that? Definitely. All right. So because I work specifically with weight loss and health and wellness people, I work in that field, is there anything specific to that field that you want to add before we go any further?
I suppose what I wanted to sort of mention that I do have some wonderful free tools I can provide your clients. It's to do with stress and anxiety, which we know can be a great contributor to weight gain and retaining weight. So, I've got some free recordings that I'm happy to provide your clients that help them become more relaxed and more calmer.
Awesome.
And also give them some practical strategies, again, being my engineer, everything that they should do, consciously to actually help them also reduce their stress and anxiety. Happy to provide that to your listeners here today.
That would be awesome. I will put any of the links that you send me, I'll put them all in the show notes. So that would be fantastic. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to offer people? I believe that you have a business mindset program coming up in the near future.
Yes, we've actually got one coming up on the 16th of July. Okay. It's a 4-week program. Again, roughly the time that it takes to create habits, 3 to 4 weeks. And so what we do is as discussed before, we sort of cover off both strategic things to do, but also we spend a lot of effort and time on the mindset. That's probably where our main focus is, but also we want to have that practical aspect. People sort of create their longer term visions, both personally, professionally, create the plans, and actually then help them develop the right mindset to then be able to achieve that.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'll put details of that also in the show notes for anybody who's interested. And so now the last thing that I want to ask you is if there is one thing that you want people to walk away from what we've talked about today knowing that's really going to help them in their life or business, what would that one thing be?
I would have to go back to the quote I mentioned earlier, Shari, from Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, and Einstein. That success actually in life comes down to 80% mindset and 20% strategy. So my big message, I suppose, today is, focus as much as you can on developing your mindset, getting rid of those limiting self-beliefs, knowing what motivates you, improving your focus, creating those habits that we talked about before, controlling your state. These are really key fundamental things that help you really improve and bolster your mindset, and then actually make the achievement of your goals much, much, much easier.
Awesome. And it sounds like all of that is covered in your program. So that would be a great place to start if people really want to get that head start on their goals and successes in life. Or if they're a bit stuck at the moment, they just need some help to get moving. I know there's a lot of people in life, in their personal life and in business who are, definitely are probably having that issue right now as we speak. So this is perfect timing. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to passing on all that information for people.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Shari, to be here with you and your listeners today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.